Segment. Hold that thought. That's an important thought. I want to return to the Geithner goes to China story, and I want to look at some of the stock market sectors because they are printing a pattern of rise now, even year to date, that really is tied to the economic recovery cycle. Jim Glassman may be right. We are already in recovery. You're watching the Kudlow Report. I'm awfully positive right now. I'm putting GM behind me. It's nonsense. It was a terrible idea, but I'm still hoping there's enough entrepreneurship to deliver a recovery. You're watching the Kudlow Report. Stay with us. Don Luskin, Joe Battipaglia, Ron Shaw, and Jim Glassman. Don Luskin, just why did the stock market just diss GM altogether? I mean, bad policy, but stock said the heck with it.
I think it's great news just to finally know how we're going to handle it. It's just been so much uncertainty, and I suppose in the end it would be better just to let this old rusty dinosaur of a company just simply go out of business. But the economy is so destabilized right now. Now is not the time when we could do that. So it comes as a great sigh of relief to see it fall down in a fairly graceful way. And compared to the downright expropriation that was involved in the way Chrysler was rescued, the GM rescue is a model of fairness and justice where at least secured bondholders are getting 100 cents on the dollar.
Well, they got something. They got something out of that. Although, Jim Glassman, you are worried about unintended consequences to our investment and our capital markets in the longer run from this deal, are you not?
Absolutely, and I think I agree about Chrysler being worse than GM, and maybe some of the outcry over Chrysler moderated things at GM. But really,
yes, they can be taught.
Here's the but maybe not taught enough. I mean, this is bad all around, and I think what I worry about the most is the long-term effects in discouraging investment in the United States, because ultimately, when you look at the demographics in this country, we are going to need heavy investment coming from developing countries like China in order for our retirees to enjoy a comfortable
we need
retirement.
Capital. We need capital from our homegrown people. I mean, we need capital from everywhere if we're going to get this job done. But Joe Battipaglia, let me come back to you, back to the stock market here. Look, you've got yourself what looks like a runaway bull market. And I just want to note here, it's the cyclicals, the growth sensitives that are running the table. Consumer cyclicals, energy, tech, commodities, industrials, and, of course, the banks are leading the way. I mean, Joe, what are you doing here now? Have you missed the train? It's left the station. Do you double down now, or do you stay out of this?
Yeah, let's just keep in mind that we're basically back to where we were in November. So the tremendous pain and suffering that's been inflicted on investors has now been somewhat restored. But the fact of the matter is the economy has not improved. In fact, our financial health is getting more ruinous as the national debt gets bigger, as states now roll over. And as I said, the commercial real estate problem is just starting to evidence itself.
Are you missing a cyclical component? I tend to agree.
Short term, this is a very short term.
The long-run debt to GDP ratio, which is estimated by the CBO to go over 80%, something this country has never seen in peacetime. I agree with that, Joe. But to me, that's really long run. I'm looking like the next 6 to 12 months, which is kind of about as long as I care to go,
yeah, well, here's
given all the strangeness going on in Washington.
You can make a case here that we have a Japanese-style situation where no amount of fiscal spending with a 0% interest rate stimulates the consumer back. Indeed, the consumer has been so badly damaged that balance sheet repair is what they're going to focus on for years to come. And without job growth and without real material change in their financial position, they're not going to be active consumers. And if that's the case, you don't have profitability in the United States.
But Joe, how do you explain the fact then that the share of gross domestic product accounted for by personal consumption expenditures in the last quarter was within a basis point or two of all-time highs?
Yeah, well, it goes, if you look at the longer term here, you've got a contraction in personal consumption, and in the last month,
no, but it's at all-time highs.
You had a negative
it's
number.
At all-time highs.
The
Why is that a
problem is
contraction?
the consumer is out of the economy with the unemployment rate moving
at
to
all-time
10%.
Highs?
At 10% with a 10% contraction in the economy. So you can throw the numbers around any way you like, but what you have is an economy contraction.
Ron Shaw, I'll give you the last word. Profits rose. The broadest measure of profits rose in the first quarter. I'm thinking profits have turned the corner up. What are you seeing in your private equity deals on that score?
I think there's a declining demand. So there's earnings pressure, there's going to be profits pressure. What we do in private equity is we try to get American companies to go overseas, buy and build in Asia, get market share over there, cut costs. That's the long-term future. That's the American battleground for the next 5 to 10 years.
Anyone you're especially keen on you can tell us about? One you just did. Go ahead. It's all public.
Universal Power Transformers in India is a great one.
All right. That suits me just fine. Thank you very much. Don Luskin, Joe Battipaglia, Ron Shaw, and Jim Glassman coming up.